The information that will be shared in this video, it's my understanding, my practice, but more important, my experience. So don't take anything that is going to be said here as the absolute truth. If you resonate with anything that is being said, you can put it into practice and let your experience determine the validity of what is being shared here. Having said that, enjoy this video. Hello, welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I entitled, What is Self-Realization? I wanted to talk about it because I understand that this concept of self-realization can sometimes bring a lot of confusion. And the reason being is because what we're pointing to here is the remembering that we simply are. In other words, there's no a person, an individual who needs to eventually realize himself or herself. We are always this ever-present, everlasting beingness, and that's it. And we are always that. As Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, you are that. There's a line in the Course in Miracles that says, you are at home in God, you see? You are already at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable to awaken to your natural being, to what you are. So, what they're sort of pointing to is that you are what you are seeking, you see? So there's no need to do anything. When you're dreaming, when you're in bed dreaming, you're always in bed, you see? Although in the dream, a lot of things may appear, and even in the dream may appear, or the story will come up about self-realization or awakening, the fact is you are always in bed. That is just a dream that is distracting you from what you are. So in this world of, call it illusion, or this theater, or whatever you want to call it, this is just a play. But what you are always is. And this is not something that the mind can grasp. This is your natural, your essence, your beingness. The only thing that overlooks that, overshadows it, whatever you want to call it, is just a thought. You see? Without the thought, what is left? So, according to these videos or this information that is expressed through this instrument, to me, self-realization or realization or awakening is nothing more than stop believing the thoughts. That's all. It's not a particular experience, because then we can easily fall into the trap of following that experience. That's why when some people may say, I had this experience that I was one with everything, or I had this particular experience, or whatever the case may be, which is very respectful, and I would not say anything about it. What I'm trying to point to is that when we hear those kinds of stories, then the mind begins to come up with a fantasy, with an idea that also awakening would be when I have that experience. In my experience, when I realized that the only problem that I had is that I was believing the content of the mind, the moment I stopped believing in it, it became obvious that I am, you see? And this is very practical. This is not esoteric. This is very practical. It's the nature of your beingness, the peace that passes all understanding. So in the end, all points to silence, but silence is not the absence of noise, it's the absence of judgment. When I look at the Bible, for example, be still and know that I am God. You see, it's pointing to the obvious. When it was asked, I'm quoting the Bible again, where is the kingdom of heaven? And he would say, you will never find it saying, look at it over here or over there, because the kingdom is within you. It's pointing to the obvious of what is. But the thought is the one that says, I am an individual, this world is my reality, whatever I'm feeling are my feelings, these are my thoughts, and these thoughts are saying this is who I am according to what the thoughts say. I'm good, I'm bad, pretty, ugly, successful, failure, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. All of these are thoughts that are overlooking the essence, which is what we are, what I am, because there's no really we, there's only one. And there's not even one, because there is just what is. See, that's where non-duality is pointing to. But non-duality is not something we can talk about, because who would be talking about it? I made a video about it. I think it's called Non-Duality and What is the Ego or something. I'll put the link at the description so you can listen, so you can watch it. So, in essence, I am, and that's where everything rests. You see? And that's it. It's very simple. So I don't need to be concerned about a realization, because that would imply a future event. But right now, I am. You see? If you don't identify with any thought, I didn't say thoughts will not be there. They will be there. The sky is not identified with the clouds, doesn't care if there are clouds or not. The sky is just being. That's it. So we are also being all the time, except when we identify with the thoughts, with the clouds. And when we identify or believe the clouds, the thoughts, then we believe that we are the thoughts, you see? But at all times, I am, you see? You are. And if I already am, what else needs to be done, you see? But this is not a conceptual recognition. It's the obviousness of what is. Can you tell me right now that you are not? If you really do the investigation, you find out that you can never say, I am not. The problem is that when you say you are, you attach something to that. You see, I am, and then you say a person, an individual, an attorney, a doctor, a street sweeper, a pilot, a good person, a bad person. See, if you attach those things to it, then you miss the mark. You're overlooking that in every moment you simply are. So all we're doing here is not trying to wake up or to awaken. You just remember not to believe the content of the mind. That's all. And any experience that may seem esoteric, just call it a bonus, I've had, a couple of things that happened to me. See, nothing happened to me because there's no me, but just for the sake of this particular example, I had a girlfriend at a time and we were walking, and I don't know what there's a lot of suffering in me. Don't tell me what happened, but the moment she said something, the mind completely dropped. What I mean by that is that the suffering disappeared. I was not in a space that I was one with everything, no, but the suffering, the internal suffering, it just like disappeared. This is what happened. That lasted about, 10 minutes or something like that. And then the conditioning went back up again. If I would have labeled that some kind of a special, experience, whatever, then I would have spent my whole life trying to do all sorts of things so that the mind could hopefully drop, you see? And that paradoxically just generates more suffering, you see? So I saw it as, as a possibility of what happens when the mind is not identified, a as an event. I had another one, which is what led me to write the book, I Am, in which everything seems to appear and disappear. That I woke up one morning and I don't know what happened, but I had a sense of that I am, but not me, the person. I felt that I was the space in which the person, me, and everything appears in. This is very interesting. It was a very interesting, again, just another bonus, but that means nothing, because in the end, here I am, with all the challenges everybody faces. The difference is that by seeing that only the thoughts are the one who makes everything challenges or not, because in reality nothing is a challenge. Life is, except when the mind colors it with a thought. So stop believing the content of the mind. I'm not saying the content won't be there, it's just not believing it. To me, that is the famous, awakening or self-realization people talk about. So technically speaking, if you don't believe the content of the mind, you are realized. But don't let the content of the mind sell you a story about what awakening may be like, because then in that case, I'm caught in the content of the mind that believes that there's an I, a person, you see? And now the person eventually will awaken or become realized. But the person cannot realize itself, because the person, or the belief in the person, is the obstacle to the obviousness of what is. You see? Now, to make it as practical as possible within the context of these videos, let's not get caught up in those concepts, realization, awakening, because again, that could generate a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, because what we're doing without realizing is reinforcing the belief in the person. And now this I that I claim to be needs to somehow realize or awaken. So simply, life is expression. It's expressing through the seeming instrument. And if there is the recognition that I am, by not identified with the thoughts, even when thoughts are used for practical matters, you see, but none of that is an obstacle, then I rest in peace, you see, rest in beingness. I've said this before in a previous video. Rest in peace, we're so afraid of those words, when in reality is the invitation, because we think rest in peace has to do with dying. No, rest in peace has to do with not identified with the thoughts. That's all. That's what rest in peace is. If you're not identified with your thoughts, with the conditioning, because there's a recognition that I am resting in peace. And you could say that the invitation here is to rest in peace while you're still quote unquote alive, because in reality life is the essence. The body's not alive. The body's a projection within what is, which is what we are, what you are. And that's, again, words cannot go there. We can try to point, but the pointer is just simply an opportunity to question, to investigate. So right now, can you say that you are not? Can you say you don't exist? Don't try to conceptualize. Don't go to the mind, no, I exist. No, I'm just talking about the essence of the experience of aliveness. You see, that's what I'm talking about. When you were in deep sleep, where the mind was not engaged, you were not conscious of being alive. When you seem to wake up in the morning, there's an aliveness. Now, the aliveness can have many textures, Sometimes can be painful, sometimes can be pleasurable, sometimes may be tranquil, sometimes may be agitated. But all of these are different textures, you see, of the aliveness itself. And we're identifying, or we're recognizing the aliveness. If that aliveness is not covered up with thoughts, then a painful experience is just a painful experience. Ouch. A pleasurable experience is a pleasurable experience. Way. An agitated experience is an agitated experience. a tranquil experience. It's a tranquil experience. But these are just different aspects, and what they all have in common, when there's no identification with the thought process, it's no suffering. See, I found out that a lot of times people talk about wanting to awaken or wanting to become enlightened. A lot of times, doesn't have to be this way, but most of the time, the desire to awaken is not the desire for truth. The desire to awaken is the desire to stop suffering. So they use suffering to try to awaken, not realizing that the frustration of trying to awaken sometimes can lead to more suffering. But what would happen if you go, you know what, I don't care anymore. If I'm supposed to suffer for the rest of my life, so be it. This attitude, not as a resignation, but as a way of saying, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm tired. And in that surrendering, then one begins to experience a taste of what we're pointing to here. And once that is being tasted, because it's our nature, then the desire to pursue, to push, even to try to realize or something, all the stuff begins to drop away, because I'm resting in the I amness. And then as the trust in life continues to develop, because sometimes one obstacle could be, yeah, I love to surrender, but I got family, I got responsibilities, I got a job, I got everything. We're not saying here that you're going to leave the family or going to leave the job or responsibilities, unless that is part of your journey, your curriculum, and again, we don't know, but this is not what we're pointing to here. We're pointing to here that even while there's responsibility with the family, even while there's work responsibilities, even when there is whatever is going on in the world, if you don't identify with the thought, with the thinking, all those experiences are handled, and you see that's how you begin to trust in life, because you realize, oh my God, I thought that if I surrender, my life will, I would leave all of this, and I would be an irresponsible person. But interestingly enough, when one's begin to find out is that when the mind is not cluttered with all this conditioning, even dealing with those things are done more efficiently. You deal with the family more kindly, more loving, because there's no stress, because stress is the mind, is believing the thoughts, that's all. You handle work issues and everything more efficiently, because there's not identification with all the thoughts about what could happen or what if this or what if that. You're just present in the peace that we're referring to here. And then from there, I see how life moves the character, and then we even begin to realize, oh my God, I've been worried about trying to control something that I never did control. That's why another video I suggest you to watch, which is the second one I believe so, is Do We Have Free Will? Again, the links are underneath in the description. And then everything becomes obvious. It's like, oh my God, so life is so simple. You see, we sort of made it complicated with the conditioning. Now, life is. I'm just an expression of it, but I'm not identified with the expression. I am identified with the source, the I am. And that's when all the worry and all the fear drops away, because life is in charge. I'm just being used, you see, as an instrument. That's what I love St. Francis of Assisi's, prayer, which I think it's wonderful. Make me an instrument of your peace. You see, and that's what we do. These videos are an invitation to not identify with the thoughts. I didn't say they won't be there, just don't believing in them, so that we can rest in peace. We can rest in what is, and then, well, life will unfold as it will. But all my attachments, all my expectations, all this stuff is out of the way. And the journey is a very surprising journey. It's fun, it's exciting, you know. I wonder what life will present. And because there's no fear, you see how life unfolds. Then when you go to bed at night, rest in peace. And if you wake up in the morning, then the journey continues. Life may have a plan for this. And yeah, you will live your regular life. You'll take care of the kids if you have to, go to work if you have to. You'll do all the things that you were doing before, but with a different attitude, with a different mentality. That's why I believe Lesson 155 from A Course in Miracles says, there's a way of living in the world that is not of the world, you know. You don't change appearances, you see, but you smile more often. Well, it's very simple, because that smile more often is your nature. The baby is smiling and everything, and when he cries, he's not thinking, oh my God, I want this or I want... No, just basically it's a natural expression of life through this instrument saying, I need something. It could be food or whatever the case may be. So life happens. I am resting in peace, and that's how we live happily. See, that's how we live in peace. And that is what these videos are about experiencing the peace that passes all understanding, and we don't have to do anything about it, just simply be. Well, this is what that's the information that was expressed through this instrument. Hope it served. And now, closing the video like I always do, may the peace permeates the mind so that love can be experienced.